Ladies and gentlemen, can I introduce you to Samantha Peter, having one of the most influential marketing positions in the world at Google.
I really helped develop that next generation of leaders that are still at Google today. I always said that I never want to be the manager that people want to leave. I want to be the manager that people want to stay with.
Hi, and welcome to Driven Women, brought to you by Cash and Rocket. I'm Julie Brangstrup, and this is a space where horsepower meet ambition, where style, energy, and a little bit of a billion fuel every conversation.
I was a true believer in education and the opportunities that education could give to the world. And I thought that technology could play a really critical role in helping scale that. It was amazing because we had kids, creating lighting systems for rural villages in India. That changed not only their lives when they won the prize, but it changed the lives of the communities that they were in. As women, we wait for others to create the space for us. I think you need to kind of walk into that room as if you belong in that room. It's our responsibility to set the boundaries and to set the space so that we're creating it for other women later on as well.
AI, expanding every day, there's some new things. I'm actually a bit worried.
The technology is a lot more in front of the product. So AI has always been there. It's very similar to the early days of the internet. A lot of potential, a lot of uncertainty.
Welcome, Sam.
Thank you for
I'm
having me.
so excited to have you. Actually, you are an incredible woman. And so, ladies and gentlemen, can I introduce you to Samantha Peter, who, by the way, were having one of the most influential marketing positions in the world at Google, all focusing on education. And that's a pretty full-on role to hold. So I would love for you to take us back to the beginning, where it all started, and why tech and education?
Well, I actually started my career in finance. I worked for Bloomberg for 7 years, but I was very passionate about education. I grew up in Trinidad, and I attributed a lot of where I was today to my education. But also growing up in Trinidad, I saw a lot about the inequity in education. I was very fortunate. I had opportunities that a lot of my schoolmates going to school with in Trinidad didn't have. And I was a true believer that I wanted to do something that would have impact. I was a true believer in education and the opportunities that education could give to the world. And I thought that technology could play a really critical role in helping scale that. So anyway, I started off thinking I was going to be a teacher initially. I looked at a lot of education nonprofits. And then I joined Google really right at the beginning when we were thinking about what could we be doing in education and how our products could be relevant to education. So I joined with probably about, 15, 16 years ago with a guy called Jeff. And he was based in Mountain View, California, and I was based in London. And we took a map of the world and we kind of divided it into two. And we were given the amazing opportunity of having a bit of a blank sheet to try and figure out how we could take our products, which were then Google Apps, now Google Workspace, and give them at that stage to schools and universities. So yeah, it was a real journey, but it was a true belief that technology could have an outsized impact in education.
And it certainly has.
And it really has, yes.
And so you build a lot of programs, which has had a big effect on students and teachers. And can you explain to us a little bit about those initiatives?
Sure. So we basically, it's about taking our products, our core products, which are Google Workspace, Google Classroom, and now Chromebooks. And we either give or we sell those to schools and to universities around the world. So it's really about giving students and teachers access to technology at a price point that's affordable to most.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And giving them the chance. And you've done also where they had to come in with the different projects.
Yeah, that was probably Google Science Fair. That was like one of my babies. When I
we love our babies, don't we?
We love our babies. That was actually, if I think about the things that I'm proudest of, that was one of the programs that definitely stands out. And that was about basically taking students from, giving a kid in Ireland the same opportunity as a kid in Ireland, in India, to to basically make science cool again. So I don't know if do you know what a science fair is?
Yeah.
In a traditional
Well,
sense.
I had to go in and look at it.
There you go. So a science fair was traditionally a kid standing in front of a trifold with a science project, and it would happen in school halls, mainly in the US. And it was when Glee was on TV. Do you remember Glee?
Oh yeah, of course.
All singing and dancing. It was when Glee was on TV, and I was given the opportunity to think about like what a Google Science Fair should be. And having not grown up with science fairs myself, growing up in Trinidad and then the UK, I found it felt quite staid. And I thought, well, wouldn't it be amazing if you were a child in Trinidad and you were able to put together a science fair project, and you were able to compete with a child in another country for basically like kind of fame and fortune, and it was really about making science cool again. It was making geek chic. It was about giving kids the opportunities. And so I co-launched that with a few other colleagues, and then we ran it for several years, and it was amazing because we had students really thinking about like world problems and how science could be used to solve them. So we had kids, creating lighting systems for rural villages in India. We had 2 boys from Swaziland who created a hydroponic system using manure, and that changed not only their lives when they won the prize, but it changed the lives of the communities that they were in, because their projects could then become implemented. So that was definitely, yes, Google. We've done a lot with the technology side. That was a program side, but it was an amazing journey.
And so everyone could enter. So
with the science fair, yes, any child could enter. All you needed was an internet connection, pretty much.
Okay. How many were involved in?
I think the first year we had about 12,000 projects submitted, and then that kind of grew successively over the other years. Yeah.
And some of those projects are in full action.
Yeah, I mean, some of those projects actually went on to become products, or went on to become, and they also launched these kids into the limelight, but they also created like really amazing role models. So like the first year, 3 American girls won. They were on TED, they were on covers of magazines, they met Obama in the White House, they became true celebrities, but it was also an amazing moment for like young women in science, which was really important. It was creating these female role models for other girls to think that I can do that as well myself.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
And so tell me, working for Google,
yes,
how is it to be, female leader? Because, your position was very high, and being a female in a tech industry, what kind of hills did you have to, or mountains did you have to climb?
Yeah, I think, I think just being a leader in a large company has its challenges, right? I think it's an amazing opportunity because you get to work with and lead really smart and bright people, and you get to develop them and nurture them. But I think also as well, you have to deal with probably a lot more politics and hierarchy and all those things. I think as a female leader, I think a lot of the positives, particularly as a leader, or what I prided myself on, is I led with a lot of empathy. I think as a woman, as a mother, I think I would like to think I brought a lot of that nurturing side to work, and I would like to think that I really helped develop that next generation of leaders that are still at Google today. I loved mentoring young talent. I loved growing people, seeing their careers bloom and blossom. So I think as a leader, that was something that I felt was very important. I always said that I never want to be the manager that people want to leave. I want to be the manager that people want to stay with. I think as an executive or as a leader, as a woman showing up in the room, quite often throughout my career, not only at Google, I was the only working in tech and then working in finance. Quite often I was the only woman in the room.
And was that intimidating? Was that like...
Yeah, I think it's situational. It can be intimidating. It can be intimidating in any situation, right? When you walk in and you don't see yourself reflected anywhere else.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But I think you need to kind of walk into that room as if you belong in that room.
Yeah.
Right? Only you can believe in yourself enough to do that.
Yeah.
And I think quite often as well, you need to create your own space in that room.
Yeah.
You know, I think as women, quite often we wait to be invited, or we wait to be given the opportunity, or we wait for others to create the space for us. And I think one thing I've learned throughout my career is only I know what I'm capable of doing, and only I know what I'm capable of saying.
Yeah.
And so I need to make sure that I'm creating my own space, and therefore creating space for others later on as well. You know, I think it's our responsibility to kind of lift as we rise, and to set the boundaries and to set the space so that we're creating it for other women later on as well. So yeah, I think as a woman, I think you can do that, but you just have to have that confidence in yourself.
Yeah. And you were saying earlier the authenticity.
Yeah.
So that sticked with me.
I know. We were chatting earlier. Again, I think as a woman, you need to show up as your authentic self. I think there's a wonderful Jim Carrey quote that I'm going to paraphrase awfully, but you need to be seen in all your glory.
Yeah.
Right. And I think early on in my career, I spent too much time trying to fit in versus trying to stand out. And I think that's a natural thing to do when you're young and you're feeling more vulnerable in the situations that you're in. And I wish I'd spent more time just trying to be more authentic to myself. You know, I remember I used to have to pretend to like golf, for example, even though I didn't play it, just because.
I think there's a lot of people who's pretending to like golf because they've heard that this is where all the business is happening.
All happens on the golf course.
Oh my God.
But I remember I used to be in these very, very like male dominant environments where I was always trying to fit in. And actually, I think, you know, time, age, maturity, I feel like now I no longer, I wish I wasn't doing that then, and I wish I had the confidence in myself to just show up as my authentic self, you know? I think women bring an incredible amount to the table, and I think we don't always have to try to be like a man to feel that we need to play in a man's world.
Yeah. No, I absolutely agree. So what would be the little thing you'd whisper to your 21-year-old self of saying, what is that advice you'd give yourself?
So much. It would be a monologue. So I think a long monologue. But I think, as I said, I think the first thing is just, you know, be true to myself.
Yeah.
You know, be who I am, show up as my authentic self, be vulnerable if I need to. I think the second one would be surround myself with good people.
Yeah.
You know, I think when we're younger, or at least I did, I always gravitated towards cool. I wanted to be the cool people. And I think, you know, surround yourself with warmth.
Yeah.
Be with sunshine. Be with people who bolster you and make you feel good, who embrace you. And I was like, and find your mentors.
Yeah.
You know, I think where my career has been successful is always when I felt I've had people, managers, leaders, mentors who believed in me, who could help me, who could kind of, you know, allow me to fail and catch me if I was falling, but also help kind of provide those ladders to help me rise.
Yeah.
I think that's really critical. And I think early on in your career, you might not realize that. But I think from experience, that really kind of, if you have those good people around you, if you have your sponsors and the people who believe in you, that can help lead to your success. And I think...
Was there anyone specific in your journey that like a woman leader?
So many. I mean, I think there were, I mean, I think at Google specifically, there were people I looked up to and learned from. Our CMO, Lorraine Tuhill, was amazing. And I think I used to model so much of what I did or how I showed up on her. I think from her, I learned a lot about empathy. Yeah. Actually, in times of great crisis, she always showed up for her people. Yeah. And I thought, as a leader, I thought that was really strong. I wanted to be like her. And then I had an amazing manager in my career, Nick Drake, and he made me feel very seen. Yeah. At a time when, you know, times when I thought, occasionally I was invisible, or people weren't seeing the work I was doing or the value of my work, which can feel very demotivating for times, especially if you're leading a team and you're trying to encourage them, but you're not feeling that yourself. Yeah. And I think what he did for me was he made me feel heard, and he made me feel seen, and he made my work feel visible. And I think that was really, really critical to me. And I think those two people were really important for me career-wise, but also modeled how I wanted to be, how I wanted to show up as a leader and manager. I think a lot of the time we learn, you know, you can read all the books you want and you can look at all the TED Talks you want, but, you know, quite often we learn from osmosis.
Yeah.
We learn from the people who are around us. We learn from the role models that we have before us. And I think having those people in your life are really, really key.
Yeah. And so that would be the advice that you'd give to the young,
yes, I
young
told you it was
women out
long.
there who wants to go
be
into
authentic.
tech.
Be authentic. Believe in yourself. Like, show up as your true self. Surround yourself with good people. Find your mentors, find your sponsors, find the people to look up to. Oh, and my last one, which I think is critical and we don't do it enough, ask for help.
Yeah.
No one wants to ask for help,
Yeah.
right? We all want to say...
Actually, I said that the other day to one of my girls, wherever she is. Yeah. That is so true.
Ask for help.
Please ask.
Ask. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And people will help you.
Yeah.
People will always help you.
Yeah.
But we have this, I'll tell you the worst advice I ever heard.
Right.
Because I think it's not only the good advice, it's the bad advice that you learn from as well. I was in doing a round table or one of these sessions and everyone was giving the kind of their tidbits for great success, and someone said, always have your coffee black. Because they were like, if you have your coffee black, you never need to ask for anything. You never need to ask for someone to pass the sugar. You never need to ask for someone to pass the milk. Always have your coffee black. And I was like, that is the worst advice.
Yeah.
That is the worst advice.
And very
because
peculiar.
you'll never be successful by yourself.
Yeah.
And you'll never learn if you don't know how to ask for help. You know, I will have graduates or interns or more junior people, and they'll spend hours, days trying to figure things out, where I was like, actually, if you just asked me, I would have told you, or I would have helped you, you know?
Yeah.
But I think people see asking for help as a vulnerability. And I think if you can flip that and see that as a strength, that you're confident enough to ask for help, then you'll go a lot further. So yes, that was my last piece of advice, would be ask for help. And actually, that's probably the most critical one.
Yeah. No, actually, it's very true. So, being a mother
Yes.
and having that career,
Yes.
there must have been parts where it was super difficult and you had to choose.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's very hard to balance being a parent and having a career. And I think anyone who tells you that they've found the perfect way of doing that is lying, right? It's just you're always going to be working in a compromised situation.
Yeah.
I think, again, my only advice there would always be like, try and set boundaries. It's something I was awful at doing early on. I missed way too many important things, and I was trying to like work until late at night and then really try and show up as the best parent I could be early in the morning.
Yeah.
You can't do that. So you have to understand your boundaries on both sides, by the way, but on the family side, but also on the career side. So I think it's on both. And then I think the second thing is really about being really intentional with your time.
Yeah.
You know,
Structure.
Yeah, but also like not every meeting is the most important meeting. There are ones that you can miss if something really important is happening with your family.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think just being really intentional with how you're spending your time. And when you're present, be present.
Yeah.
Okay, like too often where I failed is when I'm trying to actually be the best person at work and be the best parent. And I'm showing up, but I'm on a conference call while I'm actually trying to watch a match, and I'm doing none of them well.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
try and be intentional with your time.
Yeah, I like that advice. I'm trying. It's bloody hard.
It's
when you have
really
so
hard.
many tools.
I mean, I have never ever mastered it, and I have one kid. I mean, you're doing it with many more. It's hard.
I find it super hard.
Yeah.
Frustrating because you want to be the best.
Well,
on
everyone,
both sides,
everyone
but
always tells you want to be everything for
can't.
everyone, right? You can't.
I know. But at the same time, I also want my children to see that it's important to have built something and have a career.
Yeah.
And, because at a certain age, they're just going to live on to their life.
Yeah.
And so, you've only got one life. So you've got to try to do both.
Yeah.
And find that road
Yeah.
that suits you
Yeah.
and your agenda.
100%.
Yeah. So I just took our son to university, and on the way back in the plane, I watched this film called Companion. It's all about these robots that this guy by and the whole AI. And so I wanted to ask you, are you, obviously AI, expanding every day, there's some new things, it's going so fast. I'm actually a bit worried, I'm not going to lie. But I want to hear your opinion, because you
Yeah.
come from the tech world. You've seen it. You're seeing the developments way before some of the things that we did, etc. What?
Yeah. So I think, first of all, I think AI is like old and new. You know, when I was at Google, I used to always say the reason that, Google Maps could tell you the nearest Chinese restaurant within like a 1 meter distance from where you were standing when you really wanted a spring roll was AI. Right. And the fact that you can search through your emails and find that one email that was sent in 2008 that you were looking for, that's AI. So AI has always been there. It's just like when AI became useful, it then became a product. Right. And I think now we're talking about it a lot more with generative AI.
Yeah.
We're using it a lot more. It's kind of like the product's the technology is a lot more in front of the product. I say it's very similar to the early days of the internet. A lot of potential, a lot of uncertainty.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that's the time that we're living in now. I think that in education specifically, where I came from, I think it can have an outsized impact. We always talk about the holy grail of personalized learning and meeting every student where they are, and a tutor in your back pocket, and teachers really kind of having superpowers, being able to really be that kind of coach in front of the class versus a sage in front of the class, and being able to understand where students are struggling and tailoring lessons to that. AI is already doing that and can do even more of that. And in terms of democratizing education, I remember we had a tool at Google called Read Along, and it was basically it was AI. It was using voice recognition, and as a student was reading a text, the AI buddy or companion was correcting the text. Now, you might look at that and you might say, okay, well, when I go home and I'm reading a book with Chicago, I can correct her and, she can read with me. But if your parent is illiterate, this tool was first started in India, where literacy rates within parents weren't high, and you're sending your child to school, and you want to be able to support them with reading, but you can't actually read.
Yeah, you need to support that. Yeah.
This is a really good example of a tool that can help level the playing field, because you're putting technology there to help your child and support your child in reading when you can't do it yourself.
Yeah.
So I think it has a huge amount of potential. I think that potential is not realized yet. I think it has a lot of uncertainty, and I think it's very disruptive. The way that we used to, you find me a college student that has not used AI to write an essay in the last few years, in the last year. Everyone's using it. I think
their new best friend is chat.
Yeah, your new best friend is chat. But how do you, the genie's out of the bottle, how do you embrace that?
Yeah.
How do you figure out different ways to assess students, given that this is, one of the tools that they're using today? and how do you really try and harness this technology to bring the best education, to really kind of fulfill that mission of ensuring that every student has a quality education?
Yeah.
And that teachers can meet students where they are, right? Because we have 2 boys, similar age, they will learn very differently.
Yeah.
Technology and AI has the potential to really personalize that learning experience.
Yeah. But watching our children now, and the way that they're communicating with their friends, etc.
Yeah.
That also, I find that quite frustrating to watch. That they're all, we didn't get, our son wasn't allowed social media until this year, but I have to stop him.
Yeah.
And, when he's out for family dinner, I have to take away his phone. Not only him, also the older ones, but there are certain things that's got to be put in place, I think. Otherwise, they'll just be on the screen, all day long.
I agree.
And the communication is lacking. They're not interacting.
I agree. I agree. I think our role as parents, we become technology police to a certain extent, right? Yeah. But they're growing up in a world where it's all around them. You know, if they're not getting access to it when they're, clearly you have to, we're holding out as long as we can. But I think our role as parents is giving them the right skills and the right guardrails to be able to kind of self-regulate themselves.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's hard. And you would hope with maturity and time and as we're bringing them up in this world where technology is ubiquitous, where social media is ubiquitous, that we're giving them the skills and that we're teaching them on how to regulate the technology. You know, there's a whole skill set on how to respond on social media, right? Like, which they have to learn. You know, and how your digital profile and your social footprint and how that's going to impact you later on. And you know that, like, when someone's hiding behind a screen, even with us as adults, right? The message you get on WhatsApp is maybe not what someone would have told you to your face, or how, or what they were meaning to say. Like, there's a lot to be interpreted.
Exactly.
So it's, you know, it's. I think it's actually trying to teach them and trying to give them those skills, because the technology is there and it exists and they'll have access to it.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. So there's a lot of education still to be brought out there. What is the next part in your chapter? You've left Google.
Yes.
And you said no to my job. No, I'm kidding. Try to hire me. No go. I mean, running such a big role.
Yeah.
And then
stepping away.
Yeah, but also you always had a life where, like, constantly on a plane, doing this and that.
Yeah.
What is it like?
Yeah. I mean, I will tell everyone this. I'm loving it.
Yeah.
I'm loving it. I'm loving being, you know, the captain of my own destiny to a certain extent, and owning my time. And to what I was saying, being really intentional about my time, you know, how I spend it and who I spend it with and what I'm doing. You know, there are things I miss. I miss the people. I say that all the time. I'm very blessed in that I've stayed in touch with a lot of the people. I feel I still, like, coach and mentor some of the people. So I feel like I'm still kind of close to it to a certain extent. I miss the people. I miss the work. I miss working on really, really big, gnarly, challenging problems. But, you know, the problems, I still take that sharpness. I just apply it in different parts of my life now. So I'm looking forward to being bored. I'm looking forward to, like, being creative out of that boredom. And I'm looking, you know, I'm spending more time with, you know, my friends, my family, and being more intentional and being, like, discovering new creative outlets on things I can do. Yeah. And still trying to stay sharp, which I think is really, really key.
Yeah. And keep
busy.
So much. Yeah. Exactly.
But there's so much to do. I was like, aren't you going to get bored? I was like, have you not seen the amount of things there are to do? Yeah. And there's so much to explore. Yeah. And there's so much more to still learn. So I think if you're curious and you always want to keep learning, there's a lot that the world has to offer still.
Yeah, no, I agree. Oh, and it's just a new part of actually getting time to focus on other things.
It's not the end of something. It's just a new chapter.
Yeah,
is how I see it. You know, it's the beginning of something new.
Yeah.
And that's I'm excited about that.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you so much for joining us in this.
Thank you for having me in the most
little taxi. Well, not
it's
so
not
little.
that little. I was going to say the most beautiful taxi in London.
Yeah. And it's raining, because that's how we really feel we're in London.
Exactly.
Huh?
I mean, if the sun was shining, you know.
And that would be weird.
It'd be weird.
Super
It'd be
weird.
a set then.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.